Good morning. I'm Mary Calancis, the Dean of the College of Ed, and it's my privilege to welcome you here all this morning. I don't know how many of you are aware, but we're also live streaming to the Middle East, to a number of countries where Fouad's family reside, Beirut and some other places. That is why we are holding this event at this hour. So I'm very grateful. We are very grateful to all of you who turned out at this hour, because it is a busy time usually with classes and other responsibilities. So it's wonderful to see so many of you here. This is a great event for us. The formal investiture of Dr. Fouad Abd-El Khalick as the Grayce Wicall Gauthier Professor of Education. And I'd like to acknowledge our special guest here today, our Provost, Investiture, who's made time to be with us today. And of course, Dr. Fouad Abd-El Khalick himself, who's here with his wife, Dr. Lama Sami Boufarakadin. Right? I got that right? And Fouad's sister, who travelled all the way from Lebanon just for this event, and we're very honoured to have her, Hala. And Professor Emeritus Dr. William Brewer from the Department of Psychology at Illinois, who's one of our auditors and friend and colleague of Fouad. Assistant Professor Dr. Naomi Waite, an alumna and a former student of Fouad, and now at the University of Buffalo. Also one of our auditors, so thank you very much for being with us. I'd also like to acknowledge Dr. Alabas Ben Amoun, our Vice Provost for Faculty Affairs and Academic Policies over here, and Vice Chancellor for Research, Peter Schiffer. We are very honoured that they made the time in their busy days to come here today to be with us. And as I said, Dr. Fouad Abd-El Khalick's family is joining us live from Beirut, and I want to say welcome to his mother, Badriya, and his other sister, Hiyam. And I have a word of welcome, Alan Wasalan. Welcome. We're very happy to have you with us today. Fouad's mother is 90. And she's very delighted that her son is being honoured in this way and that she can be part of it. We're an international university. It's wonderful that we can do things like this, and technology allows us to be connected even though we are spread out all over the world. And we hope our families forgive us for that as well. While this investiture honours Professor Abd-El Khalick's outstanding accomplishments as a scholar and a professor in our college for many years now, it is also a cause for celebration for the College of Education as a whole, because scholars like Professor Abd-El Khalick educate our students and sustain our stellar reputation and high ranking. They do us all proud. We are standing here today because of the commitment and generosity of Charles Gauthier, who believed in giving back to the community. Charles Gauthier was a decorated World War II veteran, a powerhouse executive who served as president, chief executive and chairman of Wicall, one of the nation's largest natural gas companies. He was a generous philanthropist who supported many causes, from education to healthcare. This professorship was established in 1955 by Charles Gauthier, a 1943 University of Illinois alumnus, in memory of his wife, Grayce, a 1941 alumna of education. In addition to the professorship in education, the late Mr. Gauthier also endowed two other professorships, one in the College of Engineering at the University of Illinois, and an endowment in the English department, also in the memory of his wife, Grayce. The Grayce Wicall Gauthier Professorship in Education supports building the rich tradition of innovation in education at the University of Illinois. The work of scholars who are chosen for the Gauthier Professorship has the potential to enhance our understanding of all contexts in which learning takes place, including how education is seemingly integrated into the flows of everyday life. Professor Abd-El Khalick has deep expertise in science education and entrepreneurship for advancing the STEM fields, science, technology, and math. He has also proven abilities to connect in powerfully meaningful ways with local, national, and international communities to advance science education research and education for the public good. Endowed professorships are the building blocks of success for our university. Every dean, provost, and chancellor will tell you the same thing. And on that note, we are very privileged to have our own Provost, Investiture, here today, himself a very distinguished scholar. And I'd like now to invite him to offer his perspective on the importance of endowments such as the Grayce, Wicall, Gauthier Professorship to the mission of the university.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Thank you, Dean Kalansis, and thank you for all the work that you're doing in this college. Thanks for inviting me to join you this morning in celebrating academic excellence. It's my great pleasure on behalf of the campus to offer my congratulations to Professor Abd-El Khalick as the new Gauthier Professor in Education. Congratulations. It is a prestigious endowed position that comes out of his significant accomplishments as a scholar, a teacher, and more recently as a departmental leader. I know you have another title, Associate Dean. Watch out, Mary. Okay, watch out. Watch out, watch out. Okay. I don't know.
Provost next.
Don't forget Provost come and go. It's very, very important to remember what a singular distinction it is to earn such an honor on a campus, and in particular in a college with a faculty that is internationally renowned for scholarship and teaching. As a faculty member myself, and now Provost, the investiture of a colleague with an endowed professorship easily ranks among the most enjoyable events on my calendar. And you have to see my calendar to make sure that this is actually the most important, actually. It is safe to say that these investitures are matched only by graduation in terms of their importance and significance to the campus. These ceremonies serve as our most public opportunity to recognize excellence among our own academic family at Illinois. But they also act as very loud and clear reminders to our peers, who are also our competitors, that Illinois is a place where hard work is honored and where scholarly achievement is encouraged and nurtured. Today's celebration will not be possible without two essential elements: a faculty member with a national and international reputation in his field, and the investment and generosity of individuals who believe in the potential of this university to change the world. The first is clearly present in Professor Abd-El Khalick. He exemplifies the multidisciplinary, borderless, and comprehensive approach to our grand societal challenges that is necessary to solve the complex issues that we face. And in fact, he is working in what I think all of you in this room will agree is perhaps the most difficult and mysterious territory in our world, at the intersection of the mind and the human environment. His scholarship is pushing the edges of the science and the practice of both teaching and learning. In this new global environment, where STEM-centered knowledge and skills are rapidly becoming the determinant of career and life opportunities, Fouad's work is playing a critical role in separating sound pedagogical practice and educational theory from political expediencies and policies grounded only in popular sound bites. And his work is helping us find better and more accessible methods to educate our children, while at the same time creating new understanding of how we ourselves process and translate information into knowledge. This is the kind of impact and level of scholarship that we're celebrating today with the Gauthier Professorship. And that leads to the second element I mentioned. Friends and donors who believe so strongly in this university that they step up and make these permanent investments in our faculty. And in the case of Grayce and Charles Gauthier, it's an investment based in their faith and their confidence. Missing my way here. And it's an investment based on their faith and their confidence that this college and this university will be doing work just as important in 2015 or 2050 as it was when they earned their own degrees, Illinois degrees in the 1940s. This kind of vision and this level of trust are both energizing and humbling. There really are no more visible examples of the impact of direct investment in public universities than through support of chairs, professorships, and fellowships. This gives us literally investments in people, in ideas, and in human potential. These positions get to the very heart of what a university, what a public land-grant university especially, should be and should do. We are in the business of translating knowledge into impact and putting the powers of ideas into the hands of our citizens locally, globally, and nationally. I believe endowments such as this one will define our competitive success as an institution in the coming years. Privately funded professorships, fellowships, and chairs allow us a critical edge when it comes to recruiting both new, young faculty, and ensuring that some of the most accomplished scholars in the nation, such as Fouad, continue to call Illinois their homes. These are truly transformational gifts, and they are ones that will carry the University of Illinois at Auburn-Champaign into the next century of achievement. Congratulations to you. It's a well-deserved honor. And I usually remind people that it may be congratulations of things past. The expectations are extremely high. Dean. Yes. Okay. It is now my pleasure to welcome Dr. Naomi Wade, a professor of learning and instruction in the Graduate School of Education at SUNY Buffalo, to share our own insights into the accomplishments of our newest Gauthier professor. Yeah.
Thank you, Provost Abd-El. Good morning, everyone. It is a great honor for me to speak to you this morning on behalf of Fouad, my advisor, my colleague, my mentor, and my friend. I am here today to celebrate Fouad's appointment as a Grayce Wicall Gauthier Professor of Education, a recognition which is well-deserved and one that he has earned with distinction and extraordinary excellence. I arrived at the University of Illinois in the spring of 2001 and met Fouad. He had signed on to be my advisor. In this moment, your offer was symbolic because you gave me an opportunity to pursue graduate study in science education, an opportunity which otherwise would have been non-existent in my home country, Belize. As a young girl, I had written about my future, and that future was Noemi as a doctor. I never understood how this would unfold, but I was sure of one thing. It was part of my vision for my future. Fouad, today I celebrate you because you were instrumental in helping my vision become a reality. You offered entry, but importantly, you nurtured and you sustained my professional development and growth here in the College of Education and beyond as I transitioned into my own career as an assistant professor, researcher, and educator in science education at the University at Buffalo. So I celebrate you because of your kindness, your dedication, your guidance, and your mentorship. Here, I recall a significant event in my development as a novice researcher. I was in the home stretch, writing the final sections of my dissertation. I had been working consistently with very little sleep for the past month, and finally had completed a draft of my dissertation, of my discussion. On that specific day, I had worked for at least 10 hours and felt relieved that finally I had sent off my draft to Fouad. I expected that Fouad would read the draft later and follow up the following day. 2 hours later, his feedback sat in my inbox. And when I revised his feedback, I was overcome with exhaustion. In that moment, I didn't think I had it in me to write another word, another idea, or another sentence. So what did I do? I gently put my head down on my desk and I cried. Eventually, I gathered myself, reread the feedback, and got to work that same night. After those tears, there was guidance and there was clarity. Later, Fouad's feedback on my second draft was encouraging. That was well done, Noemi. I share this experience because that moment was defining. It illustrated that I had an advisor who took time to read my work and provide immediate feedback to help me improve. It helped me identify my moments of strength, moments where my best writing could unfold, but most importantly, this was a moment of gratitude. There was someone who was willing to guide, to help me understand that the writing process improves with time and multiple drafts, and that even when weary, we can give birth to great ideas. Fouad, today I celebrate you with gratitude for all the time and the expertise that you have given selflessly to your students, for being a great teacher, a prolific researcher, a brilliant mind, for your mentorship, for your dedication, but most importantly, for doing these things with humility and compassion. For Fouad, I know that there will be many more accomplishments, but today I am grateful that I have this opportunity to celebrate your excellence. Thank you. Dr. William Brewer.
Dr. Layton for that look at Fouad from the view as a mentor. All right, I'm really pleased to be here for this happy occasion. But first, I do need to point out that in choosing Fouad for a named professorship, the College of Education is playing second fiddle. It turns out that Fouad was a young man. When he was a young man, he really wanted to be a professional soccer player. However, after a few years on the soccer fields of Lebanon, Fouad decided perhaps there were other areas where he could better show world-class performance. Now, more seriously, why was Fouad chosen for this honor? My reconstruction of the events, I've actually never talked to him about this, goes something like this. At some point, Fouad developed an interest in science education. He came to understand that the science content that children learn in school will change over the course of their lives. So it's crucial to have the students take away from their science courses some understanding of the nature of science, the way that scientists reach their conclusions. He reasoned that if students can gain some insight into the nature of science, then they may be able to apply these insights to the science-related issues they will encounter as citizens in later life. Working from this insight, Fouad has spent his professional life carrying out programmatic research on the issues involved in teaching students about the nature of science. Now I'll shift to some of these major accomplishments. In order to study the students' understanding of the nature of science, one needs to be able to determine what they know. Fouad made a major methodological advance in the procedures used to assess students' understanding of science. Most previous work had used multiple choice procedures and questions which tended to reveal more about the beliefs of the researchers making up the items than about the belief of the individuals being tested. Fouad adopted the much more valid procedure of using open-ended questions that allowed him to determine what the students actually believed about the nature of science. I assume that it was the youthful idealism of the new graduate student that kept him going through the endless hours of sleep-deprived scoring of these open-ended responses. This questionnaire, the Views of Nature of Science questionnaire, has now become the dominant technique used in the field of science education to evaluate students' beliefs about the nature of science. So what did he find with this technique? Well, the first thing that he found was that the Vinos questionnaire showed that students have naive and inconsistent views about the nature of science. So then he began looking for the causes of the students' naive ideas. He examined the understanding of the nature of science held by science teachers, and discovered that most science teachers held the same naive views of science as the students. He also wondered if the textbooks could be a factor. He carried out a series of studies on science textbooks, found that many science textbooks ignore the issue of science, and that many of those that do discuss the topic show relatively naive treatments of the issues. So now, having sort of gotten some idea what the state of the play was, he turned his attention to examining ways to improve science teachers' knowledge of the nature of science. Most scholars in the area of science education believe that a course in the history of science would provide the perspective needed for teachers to go beyond naive views of how science functions. Fouad carried out the first empirical investigation of this underlying assumption. He has a tendency to often look and see where the underlying assumptions are and then go at them, and that's always hard because they're kind of hidden from you. He found, contrary to the beliefs of most scholars in the area, that simply taking a course in the history of science had very little impact on the pre-service teachers' views about the nature of science. This is a finding with both important theoretical and practical implications. Fouad carried out another line of research investigating another assumption held by many members of the science education community. Many scholars in the area were making the implicit assumption that if teachers developed a more sophisticated understanding of the nature of science, they would use this in their instruction. Fouad investigated this assumption, discovered that most of the teachers who had developed a more subtle understanding of the science process did not use these ideas in their instructional plans. They had more important things on their agenda, like teaching to the test that was going to come up and things. Once again, a counterintuitive finding with powerful theoretical and practical implications. Overall, these studies have made a truly powerful contribution to the field. Now I'm going to shift and talk about Fouad's love affair with the Journal of Research in Science Teaching. I was going to say mistress, but it was a little off color, so I didn't get that. Sorry about that. Google Scholar's journal metrics shows that the Journal of Research in Teaching, or JERST, as they call it in the field, is currently ranked the highest journal in the area of science education. Fouad's very first publication, written in 1997 when he was still in Lebanon, was published in JERST. So we know he has a warm spot in his heart for JERST. And we can be fairly sure that when he got his reprints, he took one home to show his mother with his name in print. And you young folk, if there are young folks out there don't know what a reprint is, look around for a person with gray hair and they'll tell you. All right. In the years since that first paper, Fouad has published a very impressive 15 articles in JERST. He won the award for best paper published in JERST in 2000. And now, topping off this outstanding run, he's been chosen to be co-editor of JERST. Clearly a record to be proud of. And now, has Fouad's scholarly laudator gotten out of hand? I think not. The world outside the College of Education has also awarded Fouad many honors. He was a quick start. His doctoral work was given the Outstanding Doctoral Dissertation Award as the best dissertation of the year, and there's someone in the room who gets some credit for that, I believe, and by the National Association for Research in Science Teaching. In 2003, he received the Early Career Award from the National Association for Research in Science Teaching. In 2010, when he was appointed to full professor, Fouad was one of 4 cases chosen for special recognition by the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs for the strength of his promotion record. And then more recently, in 2011, Fouad was elected a Fellow of the American Association for Advancement of Science, a high honor. And from my point of view, the best indicator of Fouad's outstanding scholarly work is that the papers I discussed earlier have been cited many thousands of times, showing that his work has really had a major impact on the field. He really is a good person to have chosen for a name to chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to everybody who's spoken so far this morning. Each one of you had something very distinctive to say about Fouad, which I think enlightened us all about what a wonderful scholar we have amongst our midst. We knew that, but rehearing those details, you know, is always very moving. And it is a wonderful university that attracts such scholars and keeps them and nurtures them through their careers so that they're not stolen by other people. So thank you all very much. I'd like now to ask Fouad to come forward so that we can present him with the medallion, and I'd also like to invite Provost Investiture to come forward while I make a few remarks, and then we'll perform the ceremony. It is a tradition dating back to the Middle Ages. In the tradition dating back to the Middle Ages, the symbolic emblem of the endowed professorship is the medallion. Right? The one we present to Fouad today is engraved with the seal of the university and with the title of the Grayce, Wicall, Gauthier Professorship, and of course with Fouad's name. We know that he will display it with great pride as a tangible symbol both of the Grayce, Wicall, Gauthier Professorship and of his own achievements here in the College of Education. It is with great admiration and much distinction that we present Dr. Fouad Abd-El Khalick, the Grayce, Wicall, Gauthier Professorship in Education.
Don't worry, it's 14-point font, so. Good morning. Thank you for taking the time to show up on a Wednesday morning. This means a lot to me and Lama. This somewhat non-customary time, as many have noted, was intentionally chosen so that our extended families in Lebanon, Kuwait, and Qatar, and other places in the world can tune in instead of getting my 90-year-old mom to wake up to 3 a.m. in the morning to join us. Hey mom, I think I get to say that. Thank you, Adi, Mary, Bill, and Noemi. I was sitting there listening to your remarks. I was wondering, just who is this guy they're talking about? I want to be that guy. You're all too kind. For instance, you might want to know that in real life, Mary lovingly refers to me as a bull in a china shop. So you could imagine her running around, picking up the pieces as I go about in the College of Education. This morning, I am deeply honored and truly humbled. I've always admired and wanted to work into my remarks today an ancient African adage. It says it takes a village to raise a child. Thinking about taking to this podium today only deepened my admiration of this adage. and brought into sharp focus my village, which happens to be a global village, that has gently carried me through my journey to this point. I have to start with an apology because there simply is not enough time to recognize everybody that I need to thank. To start with, my village included several outstanding mentors. In particular, Salma Boujaoudi at the American University of Beirut. Salma, if you're out there, this is a shout out for you. And Norman Letterman, now at the Illinois Institute of Technology. Salma and Norm literally opened the doors for me. And Norm has been a partner in crime in everything I have done for the past 2 decades. They have become and continue to be mentors, colleagues, and close friends, and we are not slowing down. Norm and his better half, Judy, drove all the way from Chicago this morning. And if you know Norm, you would know this is a big deal. But I don't feel bad for you, because finally Judy did get Norm to get rid of his 80-year-old Jetta and buy a safer, newer Volvo. But it is rumored that the heart of the Jetta, an old battery, still lurks in your garage, so we sort of know that. Then there were the many colleagues, both here at the University of Illinois and across the globe, with whom I've collaborated over the years. There are too many to name here, but if you check my Vita, you would see that it's replete with their names. I was also privileged over the years to work with a number of brilliant students. I see some of you are here today. And Norm always said, students keep you honest, which I finally figured out to mean they get you to work very hard to keep up with them, to keep up with their smarts, with their passion, with their energy, and with their commitment. Of course, the trick of the trade is while you're running after them to get them to think that they're just keeping up with you. So we usually do a good job of that. I do want to thank Noemi Waite for making all the trek here from SUNY Buffalo. And I've heard strong rumors that her file for tenure has cleared all the way up to campus. So soon she'll be a tenured associate professor. Then in my village, there's the playground. I mean, I cannot say enough about how great the University of Illinois has been to Lama and me on all levels. When you talk to people at Illinois, they always seem to have the same story, which goes something like this. By the time I landed in the middle of the cornfield, I've already decided I'm out of here in 2 years, max. And then they follow, that was about 20 years ago. This indeed is a world-class institution with comprehensive and tremendous depth of expertise among our faculty, staff, and administrators. To have Ade, Peter, and Abbas make it here today is sort of testament to that, taking time off their busy schedules. The hard-earned reputation of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and its long history of making things that make the world a better place is what attracted Charles and Grayce Gauthier and many, many other philanthropists and visionaries to entrust the university with generous endowments. We are in their debt. These endowments serve to further enrich our university and advance our work. Most important is that the people at UIUC are generous with their time and expertise. All you have to do to start any collaboration is to knock on somebody's door or shoot them an email, and the rest is history. Not only do they listen to you, they gently elevate your ideas. They make your project better and make you feel smarter than you might actually be. Not long after I arrived at UIUC, Bill Brewer found me. He sent me an email saying, we should get together. Bill, by the way, to me, is the epitome of a scholar. I remember him complaining to me shortly after having had cataract surgery in both eyes that he was struggling to read only 6 hours a day. So imagine on a good day what he would be doing. Even his retirement, he puts many of us to shame with his continued engagement and scholarly endeavors and productivity. Over the past 14 years, we have had many, many discussions, and we co-taught a graduate course together many times. It is thoroughly enjoyable. I do recommend it, especially that we do not necessarily see or did not see eye to eye on a number of things, and students really enjoyed us duking it out, which after many years we kind of choreographed it. We started acting it in the classroom. Bill and Norm have helped me tremendously in thinking about my work. Simply put, my work is focused on the goal of enabling learners to develop sophisticated perspectives on science and scientific knowledge. I want them to understand that science is not the final and sole authority on all matters. It could go wrong, and it could be misused. I just want you to think of those men in white coats and thick glasses who back in the 1960s, in the name of science, dubbed Rachel Carson unscientific and hysterical for bringing the harms of insecticides to the public's attention. There are videos that you should check to see those scientists who went to parks and point blank sprayed kids with DDT to prove, quote unquote, that Rachel Carson was wrong. At the same time, I want learners to realize that just because scientific knowledge changes over time, believing that anything goes is wrong could be dangerous and even devastating. The fabricated so-called vaccine controversy that is currently in the news serves as a case in point. The health and probably lives of countless young children are being put at risk because of foolish views about science among some of the public and the media. Nature, it turns out, does not really care whether you personally believe in vaccination or not. However, it turns out that achieving this goal of ours, I know that Norm and I have been working for this now for about 20 years, and he still had black hair when he started working on this. It turns out to be a very difficult problem. It is frustrating, to be sure, but then on the other hand, I'm an optimistic. It means I'll still have a lot of work to do. I'm not going to run out of work. But as Bill would say, I digress. Going back to my village, of course, is my nuclear family. Only in retrospect did I come to truly understand the extent of the sacrifices they had undertaken to make it possible for me to stand here today. For instance, while my mother and my late father probably did not finish secondary school, we're not sure, they were quite progressive for their time and had deep appreciation for education, both for girls and boys. But the sacrifices in my family started right there. The boys were sent to a private, that is better, very expensive school, while my sister Hala, who traveled all the way from Lebanon to be here today, and Hiam, who is tuned in via live feed, were sent to public, that is cheaper and not so good schools, most likely because of financial constraints or because that was the vestiges of the paternalistic society we lived in. But don't worry for them. They both are much smarter than I, and they've done well for themselves. Hiam is a retired school principal, currently working on her PhD in philosophy, and Hala is a successful banker who earned additional bachelor's and master's degrees while on the job. Both of them are true lifelong learners. Of course, as I grew older and had to negotiate the many wars in Lebanon, Hiam and my late brother-in-law, Atif, hosted me in their home for 3 years, just so that I can go to a good high school. Next, Hala and my brother-in-law, Zuhair, hosted me in their home for my first years in college. And then, of course, Hala and Hiam stayed close to Mom in Beirut. Mom just celebrated her 90th birthday this summer, so that they could continue to take care of her and stay close to her for me to come to the US to do my PhD, and then for me and Lama to sort of live here. Of course, what this means is that us being here, our children and ourselves, we have to live away from my mother and from Lama's family, Samir and Nada, who are in Lebanon. Her brother Wa'il is in Kuwait, hopefully tuned in now. And younger brother Omar is managing the internet at home, I guess, at this point in time. Still, our many, many friends at UIUC and beyond the campus in the Arab community, some of them are here today, have been wonderful in making us feel right at home. If you're wondering, Kareem, who's 6.5 years old, decided that this whole event would be boring. And he said he would only come if we released his currently sequestered iPad so that he would have something to do while the adults talked. Suffice it to say, he's at school now. And so is Farah, who's 20 months old, and we believe she could care less as long as she has her favorite pacifier handy. They too have done their share of sacrifice. Kareem, for instance, often asks me, "Hey Dad, why are you not going to the office?" And that would be on a typical Sunday morning. Last, but surely not least, is my partner and soulmate Lama. We often laugh about how I missed her first tornado in the US. Here I was in a conference hotel, Norm would remember this, San Francisco, sitting in my hotel room with my computer open to the National Weather Service, watching in panic as this red blob was moving towards Champaign. I was talking over the phone, trying to sound as calmly as I could, to Lama, who was wrapped in a blanket, laying in a bathtub. And I was sort of telling her in as calmly as I could, "Oh, do not worry, it will all be fine. That storm is very far away from you all, and that thing red was just going towards Champaign." And inside of me, I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. That tornado, by the way, did cause damage on University Avenue. So sorry for having missed your first tornado in the US. Lama, your unwavering support, sticking it out with two very strong-willed kids for days at a time, while I got to travel the world, being scholarly and important. Your patience, understanding, caring, and above all, love, have been incredible and cornerstone to this whole project and endeavor. I love you. There you go, she blushed. I got to do that, good. I would also be remiss not to deeply thank Dean Kalansis, Assistant Dean for Advancement and Communication, Beth Katsinas and Susan Michaels, Debbie Lowe, for making this event possible and for having you all here. I really hope by now you all are convinced that indeed it takes a village to raise a child. This child is deeply thankful and ever appreciative of all of your support, guidance, help, and sacrifices on my behalf over the years. Thank you very much.
It was worth coming, folks, wasn't it? It was a very kind of rounded account of what it takes to be a scholar and to be in a university and to be professionals, men and women alike, in this. I mean, everybody in America travels, you know, to be at universities as well, not only those of us who are international. It's part of what this field requires of us. So thank you for your very thoughtful comments, Fouad, and for all the comments that were made. I see your sister's dotting her eyes with her handkerchief. So to all of you, thank you for being here to share this moment, and we're especially grateful to Provost Adesida and Dr. Brewer and Dr. Wright. Thank you so much for being here. And I want to also follow Fouad to give a heartfelt thanks to all of those who give to this university. I know many of you in this room do that. It's not just Gauthier, we all give. Part of giving is part of what it is to be part of an American system. So I want to thank you all, and I do want to especially also thank the advancement teams, all the people who are part of that endeavour in partnering up with our donors to help direct the gifts and to recruit the gifts in order that we can continue this magnificent work that we do to make a difference in the world. It's not about our CVs. I think when you heard what Fouad's life purpose is as a scholar and as a citizen, his intention is to do good, you know, to invent knowledge that makes a difference in the world, that enables our students to understand science, that enables citizens to understand science. Because our students don't all go on to be scientists. We do want them to do that, but we also want them to be enlightened citizens. And science is key to our times. So it's very, very important work that we do, and we do it together. So finally, I want to take this opportunity to offer our sincere congratulations to Professor Abd-El Khalick, and one more time. And thank you to all of you in the Middle East who are there for us. We really are very delighted that you made the time to be with us, and we appreciate your participation.